Oh, good evening. If that don't get you in the mood for it, nothing will. And I know that the guys that are coming on the show tonight, I could see their faces as they were watching that video. They're rocked, locked, and ready to roll. That is for sure. It is bike weekend. Welcome to the show. My name is Chris Dawes. I'll be hosting the show I won't be taking the central stage for this one. I hope that plenty of you will be coming in with your comments and questions. The guys that are really going to be doing this one, let's bring them in. It's Martin Bennett and Rob Jones. Good evening, gents.
Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, number one.
Guys, I mean, Martin, I'm going to start with you, mate. Is that I was looking at your face in my green room at the bottom there. You were smiling as you were watching that video. You're ready for this, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, Combe done its bike night last night, and we were basically splashing around it. It is completely different out there. The sun is out. People are arriving literally by the minute down here. The paddock is getting packed out. Obviously, we've got test day tomorrow. It is going to be, I hate to use the words sparingly, it's going to be bloody awesome. It really is. We've had people coming in, and I've had our usual regular runners going, what's he here for? What's he turning up for? This, that, and the other. And they're going, well, I was banking on this position, but now I'm looking about 4 positions back. There are some quick riders coming in here. We've got some cracking guests coming in here. It is going to be a great weekend, regardless of the weather, which actually looks pretty good overall. We've got some fantastic racing to be done on this circuit. And as we know, this is pretty much the second fastest circuit in the country. Even despite the fact that we've got an extra chicane down here at Bybrook. It's going to be great. It is really going to be great. We've got lots of people that are returning, other people we know about who have been here before and are fast. So, yeah, it's all to play for.
It really is. And, Rob, I know you and I were speaking before.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking forward to it. You had the bike night, the first revitalised bike night last night.
Yeah, with all that rain, we still had about 60 people turn up, and it was really successful for considering the weather conditions. So we're going to run another one on the 30th of August. So make a note of that, people. And if we got the sunshine, we'll have a couple of hundred, I would imagine, easily. So, yeah, good, all good for the circuit. Great.
And I like hearing that your role this weekend is a little bit different to what we've seen of recent times at Combe on the commentary. You're actually doing the roving and the interviews and everything else.
Yeah, apparently. So Martin says. So I'm looking forward. I think I got my work cut out. But it's going to be fun. At least they'll understand my accent up there, don't they? So it's I'm really looking forward to it because we got the classic parades. I love those sort of bikes, and I know some of the riders is going to be on them, and it's going to be great to chat to them, and I can't wait, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, Martin, before we go into like the minutiae detail, we've been seeing social media drip feeding over the last couple of days some, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say, mind-blowing big names at this event.
Yeah, that's the thing. We were hearing whispers, and I couldn't confirm it when I was putting race reports out and things like that. But now we've had a couple of names confirmed that it's going to set the pattern. We were looking forward to, obviously, on the entry list, we saw that Josh Day, 4 times winner of the King of Combe, was coming back after his really nasty accident last year at Donington Park. And I've been across to see him. He's being meticulous with the bike. Dad is back as well. So, yeah, we've got the whole Day family down here. Newly married as well. Only came back, flew in from Cyprus. 5 o'clock in the morning they got in. So he's come, literally had the van rocked up with the bike in there. They're setting it up. Charlie Nesbitt has put him to enter. Now, Spud Nesbitt, as he's more commonly known, has been running in the British Superbike Championship with his Suzuki, I think, which is being run by Bill Base. And I tell you what, that thing is going to fly. It's the first time we've had a full-blown superbike here for a long, long time. A BSB spec bike, you're looking at about 200 plus brake horsepower out of that thing. Will we see that record go? I don't know. It all depends actually on track temperature, etc. We're just looking and we're in awe. We are absolutely in awe because we've got he's out in the British.
Who was that? We lost you then. Who was that?
TJ Toms, another local laddie. He runs in British Supersport 600, was doing incredibly well at Brands Hatch when they had a glitch with the bike. He will be out on a Fireblade. That is Dad Kevin's bike. They said, yeah, we got the bike prepped. We dragged it out the back of the van and we cleaned it yesterday from about 2 years ago. So, yeah, that is his dad's track bike. So it's not a full-blown race bike. It's a track bike, but it's still a Fireblade. And he can hustle it around here really, really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
He was tracking Castle Combe's own, as we can say now, Max Simmons, to within an inch of its life. But then he went awry at Quarry. But so, yeah, and then we've got all the 600s that are going to be queuing up behind him. And if it's a little bit damp for their races, expect the 600s to be all over the bigger bikes like a rash. You know the thing, Chris, when we get into GTs, you know, you got the big hefty GT cars, and then you've got smaller ones. As soon as it gets a bit wet and slippery, that levels the playing field out a bit. So the lighter bikes can brake a little bit later, and they can also accelerate quicker as well, and get round the twists and turns of Castle Combe a little bit nimbler, and they're less taxing on the rider as well. So we're cracking stuff with that. We've got 2 celebrities turning up. Fraser Rogers, who was running in, I think it was Stock 1000 last year. He will be turning up. And we've also got the current leader of the British Superbike Championship, the neighbour, the local farmer, Tommy Bridewell's turning up on Saturday.
That's huge, isn't it?
That's massive for us. I don't know whether to talk to him about bikes or about sheep and farming, to be quite honest. And I'm certainly not going to let Robin interview him, because it will be a case of Tommy used to have the nickname of the divided swear box. So you had to be on your mettle for it. But
right.
with all the television exposure he's been having of late, that seems to have got itself sorted out. But yeah, it will be great to have Tommy back again. We know that the Bridewells, him and his brother Ollie, were down at this circuit more often than not, and you know, it's clicked this year. It has absolutely clicked. He had 3 race wins on the trot at Snetterton. And then at Brands Hatch, the last meeting, he had 2 race wins. And I think it was something like about a 6th or a 7th in the lead of the championship. And he just looked at Brands Hatch when, as soon as he hit the front, he started to look invincible. And we've got Thruxton coming up in a couple of weeks' time.
Which isn't his favourite circuit, though, is it? He gets bad luck there.
No, it's a bit of a bogey circuit, really. But I think that's only on what the machine's done rather than what Tommy's done. So with the way that the Ducati is going at the present moment in time, I'm going to be very surprised if anybody can actually get near him. I really am.
He was starting, I'm going to bring Robin again in a second, but just on that front is that at Brands in I say the first race, it's the first race that I saw on Sunday, and he went backwards actually, but he was starting to do a championship leaders ride, wasn't he? That he wasn't taking undue risks until the second race, and then he suddenly was back on it again.
First race, he couldn't see where he was going after 2 laps.
Yeah.
The visor
oh yeah, did we find out what that was? Because he kept putting his hand up, didn't he?
The visor steaming.
Yeah, it was virtually the fact that the visor had missed it up in the crash helmet, and he couldn't see where he was going. He said all he could see was the red light in front of him of the bike that was in front. So he was virtually riding, sort of, I would say, with about 50% vision. So he was, as you say, it was a championship ride because he held it on the track and he managed to get points because the race was stopped because of fluid on the track,
oil.
not rain.
Yeah.
He's got to thank Mr. Haslam for that. He threw oil around the circuit, so they awarded half points. So he did quite well out of that. And then on the Sunday, the rain disappeared, and it was basically a dry track all the way, and he was gone. He was absolutely gone. Yeah.
Although his teammate, that is his closest rival, got close, didn't he? But I'm going to bring Rob in now. Rob, on that note, and we're not going to focus the whole show on Mr. Bridewell, obviously, but he deserves a big part of it. What's your? I mean, because obviously we know you as not just a commentator but instructor on the 2 wheels at Castle Combe. What's your memories and links to the Bridewells then?
Well, his late brother Ollie, which was a lovely kid, used to come over doing some of our track days, and it was always an entertainment because I actually said to him once, "Show us a good line, then," and he took me out and. He went in the quarry. We come into the first chicane. He went in there sideways, looked round, laughed at me, and I never seen him again. But he was such a nice kid. And when I started scrutineering at BSB, I remember walking up the pit lane in at Brands Hatch, and he was just outside the garage, and he seen me, and he called me over and in the garage and have a chat. He was such a nice kid, and it's such a sad loss.
Is that going to be quite emotional then for Tommy, do you think?
I think so. I mean, Tommy's always, you'll always notice when he wins, he sort of dedicates it to Ollie, and he always looks up at the sky, if you noticed, doesn't he? And always yeah, I mean, they were very close, and they're both a nice pair of kids, They were. It's so sad, yeah. But
it really is. I mean, what about that list that Martin was really?
I mean, you got. Like I say, Charlie Nesbitt is going to be quick. If he's out there on that superbike, I mean, that is a full-on, 210, 220 horsepower superbike. That is going to be something else. Don't write off Max. Max is going to be there. I mean, Max does 109s around the place, And
you say he's got one hand on the King of Combe, hasn't he?
Yes, Martin will tell you the points in a minute, but he's got one hand on the trophy. If you see Max ride, when I was over the other box over by O'Paddock, when he comes through O'Paddock, mate, you can't see daylight from down the side of him. He's got such a load of lean angle on it. His elbows sort of dragging on the ground. It's absolutely incredible to watch. The other one is going to be TJ. TJ might be on his old man's Fireblade, but my God, is he quick. And if he hadn't binned it the last one, he would have been up there. He was right on the tails of Max, wasn't he, Martin, if you remember? And and George Edwards. I mean, George Edwards does an absolutely cracking job with a 600. He was staying with the thousands at the last meeting. I mean, you look at it and think, blimey, it shouldn't be doing that. It's a 600, but George carries so much corner speed, and he's so late onto the brakes into the corners, and that's how he does it, And of course, we got Josh back. It's really nice to see Josh Day back. He had an awful accident at Donington a few, was it last year, Martin? I can't remember what it was, but
it was last year.
It was an awful accident, and it really hit him for 6, obviously. And it's going to be so good to see him back. And look, again, he's not going to be slow, mate. He's not a slow boy. He doesn't do it unless he's going to be fast. Ricky Elder is another name. I mean, Ricky Elder's been up there. He's challenging George, actually, for the 600 championship. So another person that's going to be massively quick. I can't wait for all this. I really can't. I'm starting to get excited. but from my point of view, I mean, Martin always laughs at me when I say this, but I don't know what's worse, whether it's riding or watching it, actually. I think it was better when I was riding. When I'm in that commentary box, I'm on my tiptoes. I'm jumping up and down and all sorts, But
and that's what we love, Rob. That's what we love. Yeah. We love that. I mean, what's your? I'm going to come back to Martin again in a minute to sort of like get into the nitty gritty of it. But Rob, in terms of the your instructor side of things, what has your involvement been over the last, or will be, including tomorrow, over the last couple of days?
Well, we did a track day yesterday, and we also had an ACU course. Now, an ACU course is a bit like the ARDS, like what you host. So they're in the classroom all morning. They do a little test at the end of that, and then they come out with us over the lunchtime, and we do 3 sessions on the track, and we do 2 practice starts. Mimicking a race mating, basically. So the first couple of sessions on the track, we lead them round, and then they're let loose to do a sort of an open session. We just assess their riding. Obviously, what we're looking for is that they can hold a reasonable pace, they can pick out a racing line, and I think the most important thing is that they're safe to go racing, and they're safe for people that's going to be around them. And I think one of the most important parts of that course is the grid starts, because, you know, back in my day when I started, the first time you did a start was your first race meeting, and without being crude, you crap yourself, mate. You really do. It is.
I can imagine.
They've got, you know, they get that chance to experience what a race starts like, because you can do all the practice you like in a car park on your own. You get it with 40 other bikes, and it's a totally different ball game. Really is.
100%. Just quickly, a couple of the messages coming in is Craig Harris says, hey guys, see you all tomorrow.
Hello, Craigo.
And George Gillespie from memory, a youngster that came to Combe the other week for the first time. Hi Chris, wish I was at Castle Combe this weekend, but I'm at Thruxton instead. You're missing the action there, George.
Oh yeah.
And well, an ex-friend, I'm going to call him now, because he's Chris Savage has said, Mr. Dawes, fast pillion ride on the back of Mr. Bridewell. Nope. Nope. Never going to happen. And thanks for the likes that are coming in. Chris Savage is already like Adam Walker. Hello, Adam. Louisa Ronska and John Chodkowicz. Apologies, I probably completely butchered that, but thanks for the likes, guys. Keep the comments and the likes and everything else coming in. It's always good to know that you're watching. Jeff Smales just added one. Evening, Jeff. Martin, back to you then. In terms of, I mean, is it right for at the moment to talk about King of Combe for a second and give us the nitty gritty on the points and what it all means?
I think the word, is it right to talk about it? I think we've been talking about it most of the week. So like rumours and gossip, as it were. I've only just seen an entry sheet, which I'm trying desperately to sort of like pick out bits in my eyesight. That's why the glasses are on.
First things first. For those that don't know, Martin, how does this King of Combe work?
Right. King of Combe is incorporated into the Phoenix Open, which basically is the biggest class of bikes we've got. So anything is applicable for that one. It doesn't matter if it's a 2-stroke, 4-stroke or otherwise, but it's going to be the biggest of the big. So it's like our own miniature Grand Prix. He says, getting very corny. The King of Combe is normally held over one meeting. This year we've got it over 2. So it means instead of 3 races, 1 on the Saturday, 2 on the Sunday, we've got 6. So we're at the halfway stage. Now, a certain person who works for Castle Combe, Mr. Max Simmons, now he got his 3 race wins before he actually started working. Now, he's been working so hard this week, he hasn't actually been on the track at all ever since that bit of resurfacing at the S's has been done. Yeah. So there is absolutely no advantage whatsoever. Plus the fact he was at Brands Hatch last week in British Superbike in their Stock 1000 class. So Max on the April meeting came through 3 wins, 75 points, 25 points for a win. Then we had Jim Hind with 46 points and Jamie Coward with 40 points. Both of those riders are not going to be here. Jim Hind is going over to Ireland. They've got their road racing season going over there. I've seen your mouth drop there, Rob.
Oh, Armoy, isn't it? I think they're gone.
Yeah, it is Armoy, where we've sort of like gone and pushed we've pushed Sean over there as well. Jamie Coward was going over there, but unfortunately yesterday he had a cycling accident in the Lake District, so that's him out of the picture. 4th overall is George Edwards. Now, I expect him to be fighting his way up through the points on this one. He is very keen. He's very relaxed. Went and spoke down in the garage. But obviously with his normal, he's with Ricky Elder, Dan Cooper, etc. They're getting the bikes ready. Absolutely laid back. Looking forward to the weekend. 5th overall, 32 points, is Shane Faber. Now, Shane at Pembrey was the only person to dive under, 1 minute 9. He'd done a 1 minute 8 lap round Pembrey. He is absolutely flying.
58,
I had a quick chat to him. Sorry,
it was a 58.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's right, 58, yeah. He is flying. He's found confidence and he's found speed in that bike. So I expect him to be up there as well. We've got Dave McKay, Dan Nelms, Chris Pope. Bob Collins is not going to be here, but he's still thereabouts. Aaron Hughes and Ricky Elder. That is our top 10 because there's prize money right the way down to 10th position. The big stuff, the one with the lots of noughts behind it, they are for the first three. I think it's 2, 1.5, and £1,000 is prize money for this. So Max, as well as getting a rather large trophy, because I've just seen the King of Combe trophy, not the Rodney Goose trophy, one which our photographer makes up, Colin Hill, which has been made up of old bits of bike and what have you, coming, and it's just, the podium is going to collapse. It is massive. It is
A bit like the
absolutely
Stanley
massive.
Cup, is it?
It is a bit like the Stanley Cup. Put it this way: it won't be as fragile as a certain piece of porcelain that was on the Formula One podium. Yeah. Oh, we'll just get you another one from round about. But no, Max is looking good, but you know, being the pessimist, in order to make it a very good weekend, I'm thinking, I really want you to retire during the first race. Because a good result in the first race, it could sort of like, you know, be there. But with the wild cards coming in, certainly Nesbitt is looking very much a challenger on this. Now, he will be going for wins, full stop, end of story. TJ will be out there, he's looking for wins, but I believe they're not taking points and they're not taking prizes. But if George latches onto the back of TJ, because they're like that, you know, they're kids. Him, Ricky Elder, etc. They're all so close. I can imagine TJ trying to tow George around. This is a little bit of intrigue and supposition pushed into it. But the top end of that is going to be very, very juicy. That's all I can say about it. It is going to be. And also, you're scoring points for the Phoenix Open as well, which is the year-long club championship for that class of bike as well. So, which I believe, he says, looking at his points down here, George Edwards is leading, Max Simmons is in second place, Jim Hines third, and Ricky Elder's fourth. It's all to play for. We've got championships now that we're 5 rounds into the series, with only 7 to go, which we go to Anglesey and then we go to Cadwell. If you're going to do something, you better do it big and you better do it now. That's all I can say. So yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to have Rob running around like a ferret up a drain pipe. I really am.
He'll love it. You won't need to push that.
No, it'll be fine.
Okay, so Max, as you say, he's the commercial manager now at Castle Combe, but that was after because he won it last year, didn't he? The King of Combe.
He did, yes. He is now on track to be a double winner.
Has anyone done that before?
Oh, yes. 2010, 2011 was Aaron Walker. Just going back a little bit before. And then we go down to sort of like Dan Cooper, 2012, 2015, 2016, and 2020.
Wow, okay.
Josh Day, 17, 18, 19, and 21.
Wow. Fair shout. All right, then. Yeah. That's fine. Just quickly, our very own Emma Strawford says, evening all, Pom is here.
Princess of Media.
Princess of Media.
Ah, okay. Evening, Emma. I hope that's a French red on the go with you as well. She'll be looking forward to this weekend as well, won't she?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Her favourite is definitely the two-wheel boat racing.
Yeah. I should be keeping an eagle eye out from obviously the number one spot up there down onto media, and if there is anything going on, I normally see a little face pressed up against the window, and then I know the text message is coming. But I'll send Robin there first off to break the ice. But no, I'm sure Emma's going to be literally jumping up and down all over the place because it's going to be a very, very good meeting right the way down through the fields. Not just the King of Combe. 600 is going to be ballistic as well, with George and Ricky all over each other. I think there's 9 points between them in the championship. So there is every single point is going to count on that one. Lower class championships, we love to sort of like go on about the fact that recognisable classes of bikes, the Suzuki Bandit Challenge, normal bikes, flat handlebars, normal pegs, etc., they look like the commuter bike they were designed to be. But These things, when they're being raced, this is Formula Ford racing on 2 wheels. That's all I can say. Yeah, engine regulations, you can't put loads and loads of horsepower into it. They are dyno to make sure they're all around about the same. So West Wales motorcycles will come down with their truck and have the dyno in it. The Ducatis as well, the 620s and the 600s, always good for entertainment, always good. They change leader sometimes more times than Rob changes his socks, and that's very, very often, actually, to be quite honest.
That's quite a compliment, actually.
It is. After your socks have been wet so many times. I think the last time, what was it? You spilt some cider all over you, and it was all over the van and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So,
I mean, the van smelt like a cider press for about a week, actually.
You just didn't want to get stopped by the police on that one.
No.
So yeah, we've got all those things. We've got the mini twins. Obviously, we've got the power bike race, which again is for, as I call it, big inch 4 strokes, no 2 strokes allowed. We've got the ACU National Championship for 250s and 125s. Proper Grand Prix bikes of about 1980 odd. Excellent. All 2 strokes, all noisy, all horrible, all smelly, as I call it. Haze of blue smoke disappears, and on that it wafts up into the commentary box, and it's basically what we use. Yeah, see, Rob's getting all nostalgic now. He'll go into his garage and he'll fire up one of his bikes now, just for the smell of it. Yeah, we've got all that. Pre-injection 600s, which is sort of like the more street class type 600 machines, not so heavily tuned as the 600 open bikes. We've got our full. You see now, you car people, what was it? How many races do you get in a meter? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
10,
8?
10. No, it's 10 to 14.
Yeah, I've got 9 qualifying sessions. I've got 10 races on the Saturday, and we've got 2 parades as well.
Well, and on that front, just to make sure that people are aware then, so 8:40, it looks like everything gets underway, but that is free practice sessions for all machines, 6 sessions running back to back. Do they separate the machines out for those, or are they just 6?
Yes, they tend to. They tend to look at the groups and they go, right, okay, these are the fast boys. Because everybody knows everybody else, it's like you comes in, right, you can go out in group 1, you can go out in group 2. So we'll basically put bikes that are together that are speed comparable, so you don't get some poor devil on a 125 getting absolutely blitzed by a Yamaha coming through at about a squillion miles an hour.
Yeah, quite.
So they're all free practice, and then we get a bit of a gap.
Yeah, and then 10. Do you actually take a gap then? Because I see the qualifying starts at 10:45, or would that start earlier if you finish the practices? Okay.
We're looking to run on track with our first parade at 10:15. And then we'll go into the timed qualifying, which will be 12 minutes a slot. We'll have 9 of those. Hopefully, we will get to our lunch break at about 1:30.
And that includes the autographs pit with Tommy Bridewell?
Yes,
that's over at lunchtime, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll work the timings out around that, but my guess is that is going to be at the lunch break. Where we're going to have him, I am going to take a guess, and I will blat it out on Saturday as soon as we get confirmation. I am pretty sure he's probably going to be over in the Strawford Centre, over in the garage. That seems about the most normal place we've had people for signing autographs and selling books and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So I'm going to say that's the most accessible place for people. I shall probably be proved wrong, and I shall have my wrist slap later on, but as soon as we do.
We're always the last to know in the commentary box, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I've got so-and-so down here. Where? I can't see them.
Exactly. Just quickly before we carry on, more people putting in the likes. Ben Eaton, John Mitchell, good evening, guys. Thank you for the likes. Make sure you like, love, laugh, share, everything this show. It'd be great. And put any comments or questions you have. Whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, put it in there and we'll be able to see that you've put a comment or a question. We'll be able to put it up on screen. It's great to have you involved. So practice to start with 6 sessions, then qualifying 9 sessions. Well, sorry, parade. Rob, speak to me. What's that parade?
Oh, right. Well, it's specials and classics. A lot of classics. There's some names coming out in it. And some really nice machinery. I was talking to Steve Caffin yesterday at IMS. He's the sponsor of the 600 class. Steve is a lovely bloke. He's put a lot of riders at the Isle of Man. He's sponsored a lot of champions of Castle Combe. He's got a lovely collection of bikes, which he's offered me to go over and have a look at, actually, which I've been wanting to do for a long time. Ex-sidecar racer, so he's a top man. And he's put in Trevor Nation on a RC30, a Honda VFR 750R, which is another favourite bike of mine, actually. And of course, I interviewed Trevor down at the Classic Bike Show this year.
Of
course, Trevor is a multiple champion of the club, World Car Grand Prix, TT winner, British champion. You know, he's done it all. Factory, biggest thing I think was he's a factory rider for Norton on the rotaries.
And yet, when you interviewed him, Rob, he was so unassuming.
Oh, he's a lovely bloke. He's great.
You wouldn't.
He was
know.
so
If
easy
you
to work
tried
with.
To speak to him, you wouldn't even know that he'd achieved all those
No,
things.
he wouldn't. No, but genuine racers like that, that's what they're like, mate. They're just you or me. They can just ride a bike faster, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see him out on that. Mark Baldock, that's a name from the past, from the NG Championship. British, I think he's done British stuff. He's out on Ducati. I think it's either a 916 or a 996, which is another bike that's owned by Steve Caffin that he won a few championships on. And Dan Cooper, I believe, is going out on Steve's Honda 500, which is, let me see, that would be a 1972-ish, something like that. Now that's going to sound gorgeous. Open 4 megaphones, 4 open megaphones. That's going to sound absolutely mint. That is.
And who did you say was riding that?
Dan Cooper,
the 4-time King of Combe.
Yeah, and now Dan has rode at the TT. He's rode for Steve at the TT, and of course Dan's a very accomplished rider. Rode at the like I say, Isle of Man, multiple champion, British Super Sport, British Super Stock. What else has he done? Macau Grand Prix. Now you've got to be something. You get invited to do the Macau, so you've got to be. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But you've got to be something special to get invited to Macau.
Yeah.
So yeah, though I'm looking forward to those parades because some of them bikes, and show me age now, they're going to be my era, and I love talking about bikes, so I can't wait for that bit.
And we've got multiple of those parades. Is it the same bikes that we're going to get to see out?
2 a day, isn't it, Martins? 2 a day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the straight after lunch.
Yeah, that's right. That's we've got them out as long as we can. Obviously, shoehorn the riders onto them, I think, is the best option. So yeah, and then we'll get them again on the Sunday. So yeah, we're going to be, like I say, we're wall to wall, absolutely wall to wall.
Yeah.
We will not be able to have room, sort of like time to breathe, I don't think.
I think it's a good. Sorry, yeah, carry on.
Go on. No, carry on, Rob.
No, I think that's a good thing we got the parades back, because that's always, in the past, that's always been a popular thing with the spectators. Is Castle Combe is always known for its classic parades, and I think that's going to bring quite a few people in the gate, actually, as well as our obviously the special gate, the special guests as well, you know. And
presumably, are these bikes that are on parade on static display when they're not on parade?
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, they'll either be in the paddock in areas, or some might be in the garage. Actually, Martin, won't they? I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have a few on static display in the garage. They do sometimes.
Yeah, but they're reasonably well accessible. I mean, if people want to come along and take photographs and etc., I would say that if you're very lucky and you're very quick, you might be able to get hold of Trevor Nation, because he'll probably have to go and sit down in the corner. Shame we couldn't have got him out on the rotary, to be quite honest. But
we were trying to get the Crichton bike there, the one that was down the show with me with the chap who designed it, which is the CR 700. It's one hell of a piece of kit, that is. It's 138 kilos and 205 horsepower, I think. It's something absolutely manic, it is.
That really is. More likes that have come in from our very own Mercury Motorcycle Training.
Evening.
And Mercury Racing 81, which I'm assuming is linked to those in some way.
Yeah, Dave is going to be racing. He had a little bit of an off back in the April meeting, so I think he's mended again now. I think he's had the bit of metal bits taken out of his foot, and he's ready to go again.
And Craig Harris says, I'm coming for a podium return, especially if it rains.
Are you going to tell him about the photograph, or shall I?
The photograph. Oh, no. Which is right. You know, Chris, you do your selfie. I'm here in the office. We've either got Donington, we've got Castle Combe, Brands Hatch, or things like that. Craig, whenever he goes to a racetrack, all of a sudden this year we started off with getting ready for my race, and it's in the loo.
Yeah.
So every race meeting we've had one sitting on the throne, basically, and it's like, I don't believe this. This is really not happening. But no, Craig is an amazing rider in the wet. That's all I can say. He must have more than web feet. I can remember him racing in a newcomers race at Cadwell, which is in his back garden, as it were. He lives up that part of the world. He was chasing on a 600 Bandit, which was probably putting at about 50 to 60 brake horsepower if you're really lucky, and running on control tyres, Dunlops. He was chasing a BMW 1000RR and an R1 Yamaha and catching them in the wet. And myself and Rob were basically, we were more scared than I think he was. Because it was appalling. But the guy just loves racing in the wet. I really hope that his dreams do not come true this weekend. I think the weather forecast is looking okay, but you will have people that just, as you say, they've got web feet. They love it because they've got that control over the throttle. It's just that gradual, and also the horsepower that they haven't got rather than what they have got.
Yeah, that's right.
That will help them. But yeah, Craig is one of those people in the wet. He really is. And he's a bit of a character as well. And
sounds it. Well, good luck, Craig, although keep that rain dance going, because it doesn't sound like you're going to be fulfilled just yet, my friend. Are there any it must be too early for any championships to be decided this weekend?
Martin, he's got all the figures.
Almost, really.
Almost. ACU 250 championship. Bobby Berry is leading that championship by 2. He's got 270 points. He's leading Nick Sampson by 118, and there's only 225 left on the table. So a good couple of results this weekend, and he will have I think he will take that championship. He swept Pembrey last time around, clean sweep, 75 points of it, and I think the worst score that he's had has been a DNF. Everything else has been a first place or a second. And he's only had one second place. He's absolutely flying. It's when he hits the front, and you just count. You start to count the second gap because he just keeps going. He's metronomic. It's almost to a pinpoint. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, the bike is day glow, sort of like yellow. A very day glow colour yellow. You could probably see it down in Chippenham actually on a good day. But he's an excellent rider. Saw him turn up. Tommy Lawler's around, who is last year's champion. He's in third place, but I think he's had to miss a couple of rounds because of financial reasons, because he comes all the way over from Ireland to do his racing. So very much so. I mean, everything else is up for grabs, really, to be quite honest. Ricky Elder leads the IMS 600 Open Championship. That is Steve Caffin. He sponsors that championship, and he's also laid your new piece of tarmac, which he supervised himself out on the track as well.
That's right.
Yeah, go on, Rob.
Rob.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Is that all right? Sorry, mate. I didn't mean to butt in.
Do it, because I wanted to talk about that tarmac.
We've sort of resurfaced the S's, the racing line through the S's. They've taken a great big section out and put a whole new piece in. There was a little bit. I think there was possibly a little bit of grip issue there, but there was a bit of a dip where you didn't want it. And it's sort of got rid of that dip, and I think it's a sort of a bit of a better. How Steve explained it, it's a certain mix of tarmac, and it should increase the grip levels. And the feedback we've had is that the grip levels have improved.
Well, and Martin, you made a comment about earlier about whether there'd be lap record breaking. I've been hearing stories that just that bit being redone could be making up towards a second's difference a lap. I find that bizarre to think that, but this is what I've heard, because the grip on it is just staggering.
Probably for the cars, yeah.
But even the cars, that seemed a bit much. But this is what. But either if they're exaggerating, which racing drivers and riders do, we know, is that the point being is there's extra grip. What I want to understand though is that I was staggered when I heard this, because it was all kept fairly hush hush until it was done for whatever reason, and they're talking about the dip, and yet the dip that I know is in the second chicane, the middle apex. On Bobby's is a big dip. I'd never really noticed one in the S's.
Right, there was one in the S's. We all know it. If you know the circuit, you tend to keep a foot away from the apex, and you sort of miss it a little bit. But what you'll find is, I think what the problem was, the real fast boys are coming out there and they're nailing it on really, really early, and it unloads the suspension, and you can lose the back. Because it'll eyesight sort of thing. We had a few. I don't know whether I can say all this. I suppose I can, but there was a few incidents there on the last race meeting, and when you get a trend, you've got to look into things. So I think a lot of the problem back then was the track temperature was really, really cold, and remember, when you come out of that S's, that's the first time you're on the left hand side of the tire, and we see this on our track days. It takes a few laps to get some heat into the left-hand side of your tyre. And when the track temperature is cool like that, and I tend to think that the cars tend to polish up the exit a little bit where they slide as they're coming out. That's all gone now. So we should see a big difference. It's not perfectly flat. It's still a little bit undulating, but it wouldn't be Castle Combe if it wasn't, would it? But
you used the right word, mate. You used the right word.
But I'm sure it's going to be a massive improvement, and the feedback we've had so far has been positive. So great, and I think NG and Castle Combe have worked together on that and brought this about. And great that Steve Caffin, who's IMS, that's his business. He's a man who tarmacked the whole of Thruxton, so he certainly knows what he's doing, and I think it's going to be a massive improvement. So we'll soon find out, won't we, the weekend? But...
Yeah, I think lap times. I think they will be better, because if they can get out of there cleaner, and then on the gas, say just that fraction earlier, they'll be driving around Old Paddock, and that'll be I think the telling factor, that the fact that they can get around Old Paddock, get set up, and then down to Tower, and then the run through the two chicanes down to Camp Corner. So you could be looking at, say, 3-4 tenths, maybe half a second. But if the weather's right, and if the pace at the front is being pushed along, either by Max, Charlie Nesbitt, TJ, you name it, they never mind about lap records. They'll just be looking to keep their nose in front, and this is where we get lap records from. And they'll come early in the race, I think, rather than later.
One of the things one of our instructors was telling me on yesterday, when it was dry, that new tarmac is dead level with the curbs now. I don't want to give away a secret here, but I used to use the curb going in. I think a lot of people use the curb going in. Apparently, you can use a bit of the curb coming out, which technically straightens out the chicane a little bit, if you know what I mean. But we'll see about that. But it's got to be bone dry for doing that. But apparently, the tire, and I have seen it myself, it's dead level with the curbs now. Am I giving away secrets here?
I think you might be, and the car drivers are going to be in trouble at this rate, aren't they? Because they're not allowed to do that, even more so now.
Well, as long as it's not, as long as they don't encroach over the green, and I think they're all right to use a little bit of coloured paint, I think.
And they are. Just quickly again, Andy Abrams, thanks for your like, good to hear. And Chris Mason, who hopefully won't be too busy with in the medical centre this weekend, but you obviously are giving away details because Ali Day says noted. Noted that one. But Rob, what I want to pick your brains. I mean, some people like Craig Harris were hoping that it's going to rain.
Yeah.
One of the things that has been mentioned several times this season, more so than before, for reasons I'm not sure of, but this has included the instructors on the four-wheel racing school day, on track days or action days, and on race days, is that in the wet, the circuit seems to have a staggering amount of grip, as in high grip in the wet. Is it the same for the bikes?
Yes, Castle Combe is pretty good in the wet. After it was resurfaced fully, it's quite abrasive. There's little places where there's a problem, like I say, and I think a lot of that has to do with cars sort of polishing up the exits of the corners where they slide more. But in general, it is grippy place in the wet. And of course, from back in my day, the wet is a big leveler, mate. And if you haven't got the horsepower, I used to love that. I was a bit like Craig. I used to pray for rain because I always know I get a better result in the rain. So because I never quite had the top engine or whatever, and it's a massive leveler. And once you've got confidence in the wet, it's it's a massive bonus. And wet tires on a bike, proper rain tires, are so grippy in the wet. So long as you're very smooth, you still get your knee down. It doesn't feel right because you're thinking you shouldn't do it, but you'd be amazed at the amount of grip they've got.
I'm loving it, by the way, is that my now 11-year-old daughter is that by force, as you can imagine, living with me, is that she ends up being in front of a TV when there's racing of descriptions on more than she'd probably elect to, but she does enjoy it nowadays. And she's had it times when I've thrown the bike racing on, and her mind is literally getting blown at the physics. I mean, that photo behind you there, Rob, behind your head there, of that lean. I mean, I know the majority of the viewers will be bikers anyway, but my gorgeous, innocent little girls, they're going, Dad, that doesn't make sense. I don't understand how they're staying on it. And that's the most incredible thing for all of the spectators that come and watch it this weekend, is it does defy non-bikers' minds, doesn't it? But defines their logic.
Yeah.
And
the bike won't
to have confidence.
fall over because it's. Yeah. Oh, you've got to have confidence. Yeah, and it does go wrong times. You do either run out of grip or run out of talent at times. But
I can understand that.
But nowadays, I mean, in my day, it was get your knee down everywhere, but now it's get your elbow down. I mean, the only time I got my elbow down was at Aberdare Park, but it was followed by the rest of me, I'm afraid.
And I have seen some more of that, but even the commentators on, like, whether it's MotoGP or whatever, they still get amazed when it's elbow down, but it is pushing those limits as always. Even in John Green, thanks for the like, mate.
Grand Prix bikes, I think it's something like about 62, 63 degrees of lean, I think it is. When you see that little meter on there, I mean, that's something else. I mean, they got their whole of their forearms on the ground, haven't they? It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely.
But Martin, we were talking earlier about the bandits that have got the handlebars, up like that. I mean, that's got that they got to look completely different then.
They do look very different, but believe you me, if you see a normal road bike, these guys are hanging off of them again like Grand Prix riders. It's to keep the the big part, the meat of the tyre, in contact with the tarmac as much as you can, so you can get the drive out of there. So obviously, although you see GP bikes where they're leant over to stupendous angles, even I can't understand it, and I've been working it for ages. These guys, they will bring most of their body off. So you'll see the knee, you'll see the backside off the seat as well. You'll see them literally on the bike with their arms outstretched. So the one that is on the sort of like the outside of the corner, it's a lot of skill. And I believe you, and I know I'm going to hear it. I hear it every flaming meeting that I go to, that certain Castle Combe instructor by the name of Hawkins, all I can hear in my headphones is, that's my old mate Tim Hawkins out there on the bandit, that is.
I think he's leading the over 50s class, isn't he, Martin?
He's leading
I think he's leading the senior, isn't it? The senior, that's it. I think you've got to be over 50 or something. Yeah.
Well, I mean, talking on those levels, my mate Chris Savage says, elbows old now. Scott Redding got his shoulder down.
Yeah, that's right, you did. Yeah.
I mean,
the thing about this is, Chris, sometimes if the front end of the bike goes, where basically they just roll off the edge of the tyre, and you see, you've probably seen it, and when they're going around the corner, the front wheel tucks itself in, they can get them back up again. They can push with their knee and their elbow, and they can get them back up. And this is the limitations of those sorts of bikes. It's not the horsepower, it's the amount of adhesion that they haven't got going around corners because they're rolling right off the edge of the tyre.
Well, I don't get to watch very much of it because, as you guys know, I'm normally working when motor racing's on, covering one particular venue at a time. But I catch up now and again with like MotoGP. Is it Marc Marquez that's having just a torrid time with the Honda at the moment, and he's throwing it down, and you kind of go, no, his talent has not disappeared. Something's fundamentally wrong with that bike.
You've hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
There are so many people that have said that the Honda is just not the machine that it really should be.
Just to cover us legally, by the way, we mean the Honda MotoGP bike. We don't mean Honda as a whole, Your Honour. So carry on, Martin. We've protected ourselves. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be, that the factory would churn out one machine after the other, which was great, and it was great, and it was great, and it was great. Nobody can really say what's up with it, but it just seems to the point. Even the satellite teams that have got Hondas are just not getting the success there. So there is something that has gone awry somewhere. But then everybody has ups and downs. Nobody has sat there for years and years, as we've seen in Grand Prix. McLaren is having a bit of a resurgence. Ferrari's having a bit of a lull. Red Bull's come up from, doing almost nothing a few years back. And Mercedes is struggling like hell. So it's the competitive nature of the sport. And like I say, Ducati is the driving force in GPs. But it all feeds down. I mean, at the moment, probably one of the best bikes to have out on track for club, if you're racing in the big series, I think is the R1 Yamaha. It's just so easy to ride. Max converted over from the BMW last year to the Yamaha, and he has absolutely clicked with it. He's his riding style has changed, but he can ride that thing so quickly, so quick.
Oh, he's gone.
We lost him. He was going so well there as well, wasn't he?
Going back to
Go on, Rob.
I was saying, going back to what Martin was saying about the Honda. I read some stuff that I know for a fact they've outsourced their chassis manufacturing. Apparently, I don't know whether they're using it yet, but they have been testing with a company that makes a lot of Moto2 frames, which is Kalex. And apparently Kalex has made them a chassis. Now, they're obviously concerned about this. It's something to do with the frames, but the problem is, as things move on, what you don't realise, these designers, they're moving that engine backwards and forwards in the frame, up and down, and we're talking like millimetres at a time. And just a little shift of a couple of mil can completely change the whole characteristics of the bike, if you know what I mean.
And you don't know until you get it out
and
there,
you don't
do
know,
I mean,
and that's right.
and that's really the key thing that I was saying here is that, and you guys know I'm sincere about this, is that I'm in awe of the machinery and the riders. Both of them are absolutely incredible. And then to see how they and you guys are able to sort of like evolve from one machine to another, and it's quite incredible. I want to give also a massive shout out to Chris Ganley. One-armed motorbike racer. We've had him on as a guest here. Lovely man. And he was over, and I cannot get my head around this. He was taking on the Aberdare Park road races.
Fair play to him, mate.
Awful weather, staggering rain, and he's doing it all with just one arm.
Yeah, he's an incredible bloke, Chris. He's as you say, you interviewed him, and I've spoken to him a lot. He's a great chap, Chris. He's a brave boy going there, and he's going to do some of the Irish road races, apparently.
Wow.
Fair play to him, and he's always happy, mate. You know what I mean? But I always laughed. He did say to me, he said he's had people stay behind him because they can't understand what's going on because they can only see him hanging on with one arm, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And,
it is mad. Martin, just thanks for coming back, mate. Don't worry about that. But I was just giving a big shout out to Chris Ganley, the one-arm motorbike racer that has just come back from doing the Aberdare Park road races in torrential rain. It's like the guy is just an absolute hero. He's just phenomenal.
You need to mix things up a bit. I think we need to get a couple of bikes down during the lunch break when you've got one of your car meetings on, and one of those would be Chris Ganley because he's very visible because it's his left arm. And when you look at it, it's like Chris's first race. He just had people queuing up behind him because they couldn't believe that a guy with one arm was riding the bike. He's a cracking guy. We've had all sorts of people. I tell you who we have got entered into going along that sort of line. We've got Murray Hambro down here. He was first double sort of like below the knee amputee. Rob's gone for a walk now.
Rob's gone, yeah.
He's gone to find his tea. He set himself up. He was military, had an accident out in Afghan, had his both legs amputated below the knee, had the old carbon fibre and titanium put in, and he's been racing ever since. And he's out in Sound of Thunder, and he is running. Let me think. I did see it earlier on. He is running third in the championship on his Ducati, and we've got the True Heroes guys down here as well, which, cracking bunch of guys, absolutely superb bunch of guys. We've got all sorts of people in there, all ex-military, apart from young Dan Cleary.
Got you back.
Who is... graduating from his junior supersport bike up to a 600, and he looked at me earlier on and he said, "I've entered the Phoenix Open." He said, "I think that's a bit of a mistake," and he's only had one race on the 600. I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. They could all break down." We've got people graduating now up through sorts like the junior classes, and I think we'll have more of the junior classes next year as well, because there's been some movement around BSB, which means there's going to be a lot of junior riders that aren't going to have rides to go to because the class is being altered around and they need a new bike for it, which is going to cost about 14 grand, these new Kawasaki's. So that could be good for us, but we'll just have to see how it goes.
I take it Finn Smart Whedon's with us this weekend, Martin, isn't he?
Yes,
he's leading the British BSB Junior Supersport Championship at the moment.
Yep. So we've got two leaders in their class from the BSB paddock in here. Steve Whedon did put a bit on Facebook last night when we said about Tommy Bridewell will be signing autographs, and he said, "Yeah, Finn Smart Whedon will be available as well."
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Somebody else said, thought we were signing autographs, Mr. Jones. So bring your pen along. But no, I think it's going to be a nice a really nice meeting socially in the paddock as well, and it's also going to be a cracking meeting as regards to racing. I have absolutely no doubt about that.
I'm gutted that my a good friend of mine, his son races, and he's in one of the supporting things on the superbike. Samuel Munson, the Munson burner, as they call him.
I don't know him, but I have heard of him. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
he's only young, and I
Yeah.
knew him when he was riding the mini bikes and stuff like that, and he's up on that. His dad's living the dream through him, really, at the moment. To be fair, my good friend Steve, and I don't think that he's racing at Combe, but that would have been nice to have seen him do it there. One of our lives here in Swindon, so where I live, so another local boy. Would have been nice to see. What else, Martin, do you want to cover to get out there information wise? I've been sort of going through it, and we've been covering bits and pieces, making sure that people understand how it works. For example, one thing I will say is that anybody that maybe goes to Combe for, say, car meet, you'll be used to each race having a time that it's due to start, and it doesn't tend to be a million miles away from that, unless there's a long flag. That doesn't work with this, does it, Martin? It's just literally you run one after the other.
Absolutely. As soon as we finish one, as soon as the track is clear, they're out onto the grid. We sometimes I don't get time to bring out the results as I would like them to. I'm reading off the screen, and then all of a sudden the screen disappears, and I look in front of me, and I've got a grid full of bikes. Yeah, it really is. It's that quick. We just literally shoehorn a program into the available space that we've got. So yeah, it is very much a case of if you need to get a coffee, I would make sure you've got one of those little thermos mugs, because you're not going to have time to whip back and get one before the next race sets off. That has been, I think, for some riders, George Edwards, I think I can pull out, and he'll probably thump me for this. George went up to Donington, and he'd done some Supersport 600 rides. He's used to NG. He's used to having a ride and then getting back, sorting the bike out, fueling it up, making sure everything's okay, possibly changing tyres, checking tyre pressures, etc., getting his helmet cleaned, getting his other bits and pieces done, and then all of a sudden he's out again in another race because he's in two classes. When he went to BSB, he just got totally bored because the amount of time between races or practices and things like that, it was enormous. And he was sort of like, I don't know what to do with myself. So he was starting to lose concentration. So yeah, it's a difficult transition to make once you move up the ladder, because it's a very, very structured paddock. But the guys here, they have got to be on their mettle. If something goes wrong with the bike, it's all hands on deck. And people will. If somebody comes off, they don't just go, well, that's another one gone. There will be bits being swapped around all over the place, and other people will come in and help you, etc., etc. So a bike that you thought wasn't going to see the light of day, that's the next race will be out on the back of the grid, sort of like, okay, well, they put it together with chicken wire and string and chewing gum, but it's there. So yeah, there's always help. NG is known as one of the friendliest paddocks in the motorcycle circles. People come back here. We've had people race earlier on, and they've disappeared away. They've had either kids or set up a business or otherwise, but they still come back, and we're still dragging people in left, right, and centre. We're not press ganging them on the gate. They actually come back, voluntarily. But no, it's a cracking paddock, and that's the same for spectators. You can go round, you can have talks with people. People will let the kids sit on the bikes. Unless they are in an absolute thrash to get the bike out, they will spend time of day with you. Which is what we want round here.
Absolutely, I always say that. So now, as well as being able to go in and see everybody in the paddock and get up close to the bikes and the riders, I'm going to come to both of you because I want to give a spectator's perspective of the different places where you can watch it. One of the beautiful things with Combe is that you're able to walk all the way around, and I encourage you to do that to be able to see at different parts. But very quickly before you answer that, PB Medical Centre at Castle Combe. Hope everyone has a fantastic and safe weekend. We hope we don't get to see any of you. And obviously, I know what an incredible job they do after having to be treated with them nearly 7 weeks ago now already, incredibly, with my heart scare, which, you guys, you were wonderful. So
yes, I know. We thanked them already. Actually, I think it was when we came down for, I can't remember, it was Rally Day or what have you, because they looked after Angela.
Yes,
at the last bike meeting.
Yeah,
That's
they are
right.
amazing.
So,
they are
cracking.
amazing. They are just a wonderful, wonderful group, without question. God bless them. So I'm going to start with Martin because he's in that position there. Where would you most strongly recommend spectators watching from, and why? One place. You can only pick one place.
Right. I can only pick one place. Can I pick a section where I think it would be quite okay? Up Avon Rise. So they're getting the drive out of camp and they're coming along the start-finish straight, and they come up Avon Rise on the approach in the quarry. If it is dry, it is blisteringly quick, and you think, how on earth are they going to stop that? So if you catch them there and then you turn around to your left-hand side and then you watch them on the entry into quarry, you're thinking, that's not going to stop. That really is not going to stop. But there again, I would get up later on and walk up towards quarry as well to see them really coming in on the approach to that. And I think there are more lines going into quarry than Paddington railway station.
Yeah. I mean, even the cars do, and they're wider, and they still do that, don't they? And I always recommend to people when I'm hosting like the racing school is that everybody will automatically magnetize themselves to a corner, and I get that, but you need to stand on the crest of Avon Rise and just stand and watch them coming up towards you and into it. The speed is ridiculous, makes no sense. They're going over a crest of a hill where they go light, and I mean, I'm almost imagining, do they do it where they're sort of like the rear of the bike is sort of like going light on them?
Yeah, well, it will, but it's different with the cars. The cars break over the rise, don't they?
Some of them vary. I mean, you some of them might do a bit before and a bit after. But if you try braking whilst you're on the rise, you suddenly realise, oh, nothing's happening because I'm not on the ground. So
your leaders like Max and people like that, they're probably braking as they crested Avon Rise.
Yeah.
Some of the sort of perhaps the more medium sort of people be braking just before Avon Rise.
Yeah.
I brake just before Avon Rise anyway.
And presumably, Rob, you need to then get off the brake again as you go light and then back on again afterwards or something like that?
You carry your brake into the corner, you trail brake. So this is what you do on a bike. You actually, with race tyres, especially with slicks, when they're up to temperature, you brake right into the apex of the corner. So the top boys, they are braking really deep into the corner. They're straight off the brakes and back whacking it on the gas again. What we teach people, funny enough, when we're from our track day point of view, is to take that back a step, and you brake into the corners, but as you're turning in, you're gradually letting the brake off, and then as your brake comes off, you get a nice smooth transition onto the throttle. But watch people like Max and TJ and especially Charlie Nesbitt, and they'll be going in there hard on the brakes, and they're coming straight off the brakes and launching it out on the gas. They pick up those thousands. You can't nail them when they're lent over the thousands. It's a different riding style to a 600. You got to pick them up. That's why you'll see them hang off the seat as they pick them. They sort of push the bike up with their backside, and then they launch them on the gas.
Jeez.
And
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So agreed, Martin. I agree with you there, definitely. Rob, what do you think?
Do you know what I've always liked? Not just because I've commentated over it, but I've always, as a rider, I've always liked it, and I always like watching coming out of the S's and going through a paddock. Really? That is mint. That section, that is absolutely mint. And if you're riding, get that right, and it feels absolutely great. You've got to use all of the track. Yeah, coming out. If you've got to use a bit of curb coming out, you know you're on a good lap.
And of course, that, I mean, from memory, is I mean, did you ride it before the S's were put in as well?
Only on sidecar. I was a sidecar passenger then, with no chicanes.
Right.
Martin's gone. But I've only ever.
I think that it was the bikes that kind of was one of the major catalysts for the S's. Because somebody sort of put their head down and then looked up too late or something.
Yeah, there's not a lot of runoff at Oak Paddock, as you know, and so yeah, that's that. I did it before Bybrook was in, and camp was bloody quick. Then going into camp, it really was. In fact, I got scraped up there once because of that. But
I can imagine.
Yeah,
our very own Emma loved it that we've had the absolutely mint come in, so that's really good. And of course, our very own Angela. I'm assuming she's off camera there. Have a good, safe weekend, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello,
Angela. See you tomorrow.
That's Martin's better half.
Were you just talking about the last chicane, Rob?
Yes. Yeah. The before it was in. That was
Yeah.
so fast before it was in.
I mean,
and that's the thing. Just in case, sorry, Martin, in case nobody realizes, if you've not been to watch the bikes at Combe, is that there is a secondary, third chicane that's put in, because the S's is between Quarry and Old Paddock. We then had Bobby's that is between Tower, and I guess the most obvious thing is to say is Camp. But what we realised is that the bikes from Bobby's to Camp were back up to full speed again.
Yeah.
And so when you go there, when the bike meet isn't on, before you get to Camp, you'll just see there's a big piece of tarmac. That's literally all it is, onto the infield. And what happens is that gets put as a temporary chicane, which from memory, Winner had an argument with, didn't he, Sean Wynn?
Yeah, it's a Love 8 thing. It's a bit of a Marmite corner, Bybrook. To be honest, when I raced, I actually quite liked it because it's great for outbraking people. But I know one year there was a little bit of a problem with it, I think, and the barriers have moved slightly and it was a bit tight, but it's all been realigned now and it's a lot better than it was. But at the end of the day, it's like every track, it's the same for everyone. So you go out, you get used to it, and you ride to the, you ride to the situation, don't you? But
no, exactly right.
Yeah.
So that explains that. It's blasting along the start finish straight on the power all the way up over Avon Rise and probably into Quarry for some of the other ones. And it is mind blowing for you, Rob. It was out of the S's and the very fast, still accelerating all the way through
Old Paddock. Yeah,
which is just fabulous place. I agree with you. Is Tower as challenging for bikes as it can be for the cars? It's almost like a double apex, isn't it?
You turn in late. You turn in very late for a Tower. It's a late apex. Yeah, and as long as you do that, it's fine because you don't tend to find people run wide coming out of there. But if you go in too early, you take too much speed off. You've got to square it off. You've got to square it off. So, but there again, even Quarry's quite a late turn in. But I wouldn't say that Tower is it not for the bikes. It's not really a double apex, if you know what I mean. It's a late apex. It's a late apex.
I mean, I'm probably oversimplifying the double apex because that sort of paints a very definitive picture. But many in the car sort of say that it sort of has that feel to it.
It does tighten up, obviously, as it goes around. But
and then it's only a tiny squirt to Bobby's as well. Then,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's right. And as you were saying, there is quite a dip at Bobby's, but it doesn't affect the bikes there. It's just a different, whether they're a bit slower coming out or whatever, but it doesn't seem to affect anything there.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
It's weird, but there again, I think you're going in there a bit slower than you would be at the S's, if you understand what I mean, because it's obviously only a little squirt out of Tower.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hi to Gerald Hicks, and a like from Gerald. Thank you for that one, much appreciated. Before we wrap up, then, guys, Martin, is there anything we haven't covered that you want to cover?
I think the most important thing is, and I know that obviously this is a big one. Tickets only on the gate at the moment. Ticket sales you can't do online anyway. I think they stopped something in the regular about Tuesday or something like that. But the prices are back down again. So we've got the concessions put back on as well for all 2 days, and the prices are for separate days, and you can get a weekend ticket as well. So the prices have sort of like normalised themselves, I think, more than anything else. There we go.
Yeah. So on the gate prices for Saturday for adults is £20, £30 on Sunday, or £40 for both days. Concessions are back again, which is the big one. Saturday £15, Sunday £25, weekend £35. Under 17s go free, but they must be with an adult, which is fair. So yes, that is the situation. Also, just very quickly, just to make sure that I have shared it, is that we sort of have been talking about this somewhat. Let me actually just put that up to full screen for a second. But you'll see that where we have the free practice in the morning, then parade lap, then the all qualifying, lunch approximately half an hour, and then we move into racing all through the day, 10 on the Saturday. Whereas into Sunday, we've got warm-up, 4 sessions, parade again, and then it's racing wall-to-wall for the whole day, parade again just before lunch this time, and all the way through to the close of play on the Saturday. So on the Sunday, sorry. So that is the excitement that is before everybody. Guys, I mean, I know when we get on the get-go, you were excited. I think you're even more so now, aren't you? Now you've thought about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll be up there early tomorrow because me and Neil Sutton do a track walk at Castle Combe on Friday evening. So if any, especially novices, are watching, come and see us up by the Avon Bridge at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, and come out on one of our track walks.
Fantastic.
But we're about all day as well for anyone who's new, doing their first race at Castle Combe. Come and see me and Neil. We're about to. We can always give you a little few pointers in our from our few million laps that we've done at Castle Combe.
Emma said that she's limbering up for the track walk right now.
Yeah. Emma comes out.
And thank you for the thumbs up from Kevin Ellis. He said, "Good vote, guys. See you tomorrow around noon." So he'll be up there. Martin, I know that you cover this plenty, but you're looking forward to this. I can tell by the glint in your voice and eye.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is one meeting that I, because like you, I started off down at Quarry as a spectator, and then I've been fortunate enough to sort of like talk my way through into all sorts of things. And I've done NG now for 7 years. I've got my apprentice with me who is driving me bonkers. I need him to be transparent. You know, when you were saying about the sort of like when you talk about riding and talk about commentating, I am going to put you into the commentary box with Rob Jones, and it's going to be a case of all of a sudden the arms will shoot up in the air and you'll get this, oh, and you go, sit down.
I wouldn't change it. Enthusiasm is amazing. And talking about enthusiasm, by the way, Craig Harris says, "Can't wait to get back on the bike and race at Castle Combe." He said, "Donny can be forgotten."
Oh yeah, he had the mother and father of all crashes at Donington.
Yeah, he did. Poor chap.
As he came out of, I think, that last corner at Donington's Coppice, came out of there with the pack of bikes. It was the first lap. Then all of a sudden, I saw a bike just go completely squirrely all over the place, spat the rider off. There were other bikes literally going left, right, and centre, and he really did wallop the ground. When we say high side, some people get spat off a bike so high they come down with snow on them, and they really do. They're fortunate that carbon fibre Kevlar really does do this, but no, we're just looking forward to all this. I always enjoy my race meetings. There's somebody else in here who enjoys the race meetings more than I do, and that's my novice up in the box who looks after me. Angela, well, I didn't get the song that we are going racing now in the van. She was too much. But yeah,
Brilliant.
I'm surrounded by them. I can't get rid of them. But no, this
You wouldn't either.
This is going to be a good one. This is really going to be a good one. This is going to be a rundown towards the last two races of the championship. And everybody that comes here, they like to race Combe because it's fast. It's as simple as that. Let's go fast. Let's come here.
Well, I think that's a wonderful way to end it. Thank you, Rob Jones. Thank you, Martin Bennett. We'll leave it in your capable hands over the weekend. And I look forward to catching up with you both to see how it went. Thank you to everybody for joining in on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to lead you out with that video we saw at the beginning and then our outro. Good evening, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chris. See you.